Hey mommies, how are you? I hope that you're all having an awesome day, and I want to welcome you to our Mommy's Love video. And today we're talking about this water. It's super important. Hydration is extremely important for us adults because it makes our bodies function the way they're supposed to, nice and healthy. It helps us stay healthy. It helps our digestive system work. It keeps us it keeps us hydrated, avoids dehydration. It helps our skin, everything. Water is super important for adults, okay? And this video really mainly goes for babies, water in regards to babies, okay? So the thing is, sometimes people ask me this question, so I just really want to highlight it, and it's super important because water for very young babies is actually very dangerous, okay? And in fact, it can even lead to a lot of different health problems, and it can even lead to death. So I just want to give you a little bit of information and some rules regarding water, okay, and when the best time to introduce water is and how to do it, so that it just puts your mind a little bit at ease. Because I've heard stories of people even introducing water like to a 2-month-old and things like that. That's definitely not right, okay? First of all, breastfed babies, okay, do not need any water, in fact, really technically until they're about a year old, if they're exclusively breastfeeding, okay? Because breast milk is composed of 88% of water, okay? That's why it's super important for the moms that are breastfeeding to drink a lot of water, okay? So babies, like I said, breastfed babies especially, they don't need a lot of water, and definitely newborns don't need any water whatsoever, okay? Even if they're formula fed babies, they don't need any like additional or supplementational water, okay? Everything that they get in regards to the liquid that they need to intake comes from their breast milk or from the formula if that's the case, okay? And the reason why it's so dangerous is because actually water can dehydrate babies, which sounds a little bit like, water's supposed to hydrate you, why would you dehydrate? Well, the thing is that babies' kidneys are not really fully developed, so the way that they process this excess water kind of offsets the balance of their system. So what happens is that they end up producing excess sodium, and then there's an off balance with the electrolytes in their system, so that can actually lead to the wrongful signals in their brain, which would lead to dehydration, okay? The other thing too is malnutrition, because if you fill a baby's tummy with water, they're not going to be taking as much intake of breast milk or formula of what they really need, the calories that they really need. Hey Ariana, how are you? Or the calories that they really need to get all the nutrition that they need, right? To be able to thrive. So malnutrition is another thing. And the third one is actually water intoxication, okay? And this is what I was explaining a little bit earlier, which is that whole thing to do with the imbalance of sodium and electrolytes, okay? And that would cause an intoxication for the baby, which can actually be fatal or cause very severe health complications in the baby's system, the way that the organs are supposed to work. So it's really dangerous to give water to a newborn baby, okay? No water for a newborn baby. Everything that they need comes from their breast milk. And some pediatricians recommend introducing solids at like 4 months old. That would still not mean that you need to introduce water, okay? And by the way, I'm totally against introducing solids at 4 months old. It's better to wait until 6 months old, okay? So definitely no introduction of water anyway until 6 months old, okay? Once the baby turns 6 months old, like I said, you don't need to introduce water. It's only really if you want to kind of like introduce them to what it feels like, to drinking it, the taste of it, or experiment a little bit with water. And then the way that you would do that is with a sippy cup. Breastfed babies, you'll probably find they won't take well to a bottle. Exclusively breastfed babies, they won't take well to a bottle at all. So it's actually pretty interesting that they take better to a sippy cup, okay? They'll take better to that one. But don't be surprised if your breastfed baby, exclusively breastfed babies, they don't take to water at all. They really are not interested in water. So don't think that there's something wrong with your baby or that he's going to get dehydrated. Same applies for tea. Ariana's asking. It depends what type of tea, because there's some teas have caffeine, and that's, you definitely don't want to give caffeine to a baby. But there's lots of like chamomile tea and things like that that you could introduce. I introduced actually coconut water because I found that my breastfed baby had no interest in water whatsoever, and he actually liked coconut water a little bit better. So when he was around 6.5 months, almost 7 months, that's when I started to introduce water, and that's when he started to take better to the coconut water. So you can try with other things like chamomile tea and things like that. I wouldn't introduce anything that has sugar, like a lot of sugar in it, like apple juice or any other types of juices, just because again that's going to offset his balance, because a lot of these apple juices and things like that have a really high content of sugar. So just be really careful with that too. And so the amount in regards to introducing your baby after they're like around 6 months, 7 months, which is the right time to introduce water, would be 2 to 4 ounces of water per day. Okay, that's very, very little. Okay, that's like maybe this much. It's a very, very little amount. And again, like I said, most breastfed babies won't take too much to it. It can help to during the time that you're introducing solids, because sometimes they tend to get a little bit constipated during this time. So it's good for them to be drinking the 2 ounces to 4 ounces, but definitely the maximum would be 4 ounces. They don't need any more at all if they are still taking, it's important for them to still be taking their breast milk and their formula during this time. Really, really important. So don't think that because you're eating that they need to be drinking a lot of water to process that or anything like that. And what experts usually recommend, like pediatricians, is that you give them a little bit of breast milk like before they start eating and after they're done eating too, and then that helps for everything to digest and go through. And then once they turn 1 year old, that's when water becomes more important, especially because you're eating more solids. Ariana's saying something here. We tried chamomile decaffeinated for baby. He's 3 months, and with 2 ounce helps him to poo. Okay, if he's 3 months, you just want to be really cautious. Just consult with Ariana, consult with your pediatrician, see if that's okay. If the chamomile tea is decaffeinated and it's just 2 ounces, then that sounds like a safe amount. I definitely would not give him more than 2 ounces because he's still very, very young. And you'll definitely want to double check with your pediatrician, see if that's okay. But 2 ounces is a small amount, so that shouldn't be too much. And if it's something that he's having a problem with constipation, then definitely water makes a huge, my oldest son, he's 3.5 years old, and he suffers a lot with constipation, and drinking a lot of water is the only way to help his body actually be able to go to the bathroom. So water does help, especially when you're introducing solids too, like I said, 2 to 4 ounces up until they're 1 year old. Okay, so your question, Ariana, just double check with your pediatrician, but 2 ounces should be the max in a day that you should be giving your baby, because he's 3 months old, so he's still very, very young. And like I mentioned before, his kidneys are not developed enough yet to be able to process that water in his system. You want to make, the other thing you can definitely make sure is just make sure that you're giving him extra breast milk. If you're breastfeeding, definitely as much breast milk as you can. And if you're not breastfeeding, then you should do the equivalent with formula, okay? And so again, after your baby turns 1 year old though, what you should be doing is, again, still breast milk should be the primary source of liquid or formula. And then in between, after meals, you should give your baby then water just to kind of quench their thirst. But the average that 1 year old to 3 year old should be drinking is about 30 to 40 ounces of water per day, which sounds like a lot, because that's actually like this bottle of water, it would be like pretty much like up to here, like pretty much like 3/4 of this bottle of water, which is a lot of water for a toddler. That's how much water I have to give. I give my 3.5-year-old, I give him 33 ounces of water a day, which is quite a lot, and it takes a lot of effort to make sure that he drinks that amount. So they're not just going to jug down that amount of water. You have to also remind them and be offering that amount of water. So that's kind of the average. in regards to the journey of starting to drink water and things like that. And also on that note, I just wanted to mention something else, because this is something that happened. I come originally from Colombia. So I've been in like poor areas of Colombia, and areas where moms have not been as educated in regards to breast milk or educated in regards to formula feeding. So what they tend to do is they tend to water down the formula, thinking that it's gonna last longer or something like that. And that's a really big issue, okay? Never water down formula, because there's a few things that happen, okay? You're not getting the calorie content that the baby needs, okay? It's usually, with most formula, is 2 ounces for 1 scoop. So if you mess that balance up, your baby's gonna be full of liquid, and they're not getting the calorie content that they need. And in addition to that too, you're offsetting the way that their organs and their system works. Like I mentioned a few times before, their kidneys are not developed enough to be able to process that extra water, okay? And if you're breastfeeding your baby and you're mixing breast milk with liquid, with water, or you're offering extra water to your baby, then that again is going to offset all their balance in their system. And in addition to that too, it's going to affect your breast milk supply, because your baby is not going to be wanting to go on the breast as often because they feel full from the water, okay? So really important that you do not give like supplemented water to your either breastfed baby or formula fed baby. Really important that you take that into consideration, okay? And the other thing too is there's a lot, an array, an abundance of sippy cups and bottles and things like that on the market, which are great. They're great because they're a great way for your baby to start to be able to drink liquids and things like that. And also so that you don't have hundreds of spillage of water or all over your house or anything like that. But things like those sippy cups, they interfere with the way that your baby's actually, like their structure of their mouth and the way that they take in the water. So it can affect speech, it can affect like the like development of a jaw, teeth, everything. So just be aware that your child really, by the age of like around 18 months, they should be able to drink from a cup, any type of cup or a glass, obviously plastic. But they should be able to drink from that perfectly, okay? And they will. If you remove that bottle, if you transition them to a regular cup, they will take to it perfectly. As long as they have the eye coordination and everything, they will take to it perfectly. Doesn't mean that you're not gonna have little messes every now and again, but they will take to it perfectly. And it's very important that they learn to do that. I know it's not as convenient, but it's very important that they learn to do that for themselves, so that all the development of their mouth, their jaw, everything like that occurs as it's supposed to happen, okay? And if you have any questions in regards to water or introducing solids or anything like that, please let me know. It's very important. We hear a lot of like folk tales and grandmas and aunts and stuff like that. Oh, I was drinking water when I was 1 month old, and water is great, and water helps in poo, and water helps. Just be very cautious when you listen to advice like that. Do your research, do your homework, because I had all sorts of comments and advice and things like that. So I would always be super cautious to check and read. I would talk with my pediatrician, I would do my research too, and then I would make a balance and make my decision. So always do that, and also follow your gut, because as a mom, that's my #1 thing to go to. Your gut is like #1 in being able to make those decisions for you, okay? Bye, mommies. Besitos. Take care.